This is Elmwood Avenue, a typical leafy, tree-lined street in the more expensive BT9 postcode area of Belfast. Interestingly, it has two churches, one at each end of the street, one called All Saints and one called All Souls. At the bottom of the avenue is the Queen's University Medical Biology building, where many a young doctor and nurse have been trained. The building joins onto Belfast City Hospital with its iconic tower block, which can be seen from much of Belfast. Passing the City Hospital on the left, an old cement hotel can be seen on the right. This was the Russell Court Hotel, which was blown up twice in the 1970s, forcing its owners to abandon it. For a period, it was used for nurses' accommodation and emergency accommodation. This is a very old part of Belfast called Sandy Row, which is currently undergoing redevelopment thanks to a new transport hub. This is a Protestant loyalist area and was home to Alex Higgins, who was world snooker champion in both 1972 and 1982. As we turn right out of Sandy Row, if you look to the left, you can see one of the largest mules in Belfast, which is of King William III, the Dutch Prince of Orange. We will now pass by some of Belfast's newest hotels, and then back onto the Golden Mile. Of Belfast's most famous hotel, the Europa Hotel. It is famous for all the wrong reasons, because it was bombed out 36 times from when it opened in 1971 until 1993. It is also where Bill and Hillary Clinton stayed when they visited Belfast in 1995. On the right opposite the hotel is Belfast's most famous pub, the Crown Liquor Saloon, which is a very fine example of a Victorian gin palace. It is divided into private snugs and is featured in various TV shows and movies, including Odd Man Out, Chaplin performed here, and so did Luciano Pavarotti, among many others. Belfast was in the headlines for all the wrong reasons for much of the 20th century, and even into the 21st century, as sectarian tensions boiled over between the two communities in the city. The Protestant Unionist side of the community were called Loyalists, as they were loyal to the King or Queen and wished to remain part of the UK, ancient Northern Ireland. As we drive through both sides of the community, You will see identifying murals showing these communities' fallen heroes, their stories, and their affiliation with other political struggles across the world. We will also look at the peace walls of Belfast, built by the British Army starting in 1969, when they tried to divide the communities for their own safety. As we turn left into Divis Street, we are entering the heartland of republicanism in Belfast. In front of us, we can see Divis Tower, a typical 1960s cement tower block with 96 flats of social housing similar to those found all across Europe. However, this building is very different. During the 1970s, the British Army occupied the top 2 floors of this building and used it as an army observation post with great views across Belfast from the top. This post remained until 2005. When the building was used by the army, they could only access the post by helicopter, as it would be too dangerous to use the stairs. The tower features prominently in a local TV comedy series called Give My Head Peace. On the right, above the red brick houses, the peace line is very clearly visible. This peace wall divides the Republican Falls area with the Loyalist Shankill area, where similar houses are only a few feet away from the fence. The peace wall continues to the right as we drive along the road, and if you look alongside the streets on the right, you can see they've been completely sealed off, with no access to the other side at all. The large mill on the right acts as a peace line, and it has 2 entrances for the workers to use, one for the Catholic workers to use, and another on the other side for Protestant workers. The wall of the flour mill has numerous murals painted on it, and is known as the International Wall. The murals here have been painted by the Republican side of the community, and are often changed to show current international conflicts memorials. As you turn right onto Northumberland Street, you can see a set of gates. These are closed every night at 7 p.m. and reopened at 7 a.m. These are just one set of gates, and this is just one peace wall of many across Belfast. We're now crossing over from the Republican Falls area into the Loyalist Shankill area. As soon as we cross the peace line, it is immediately apparent that we are in a Loyalist area, as the murals to the right of the bus show Union flags and memorials of the First and Second World Wars. Before taking a look at Loyalist Shankill, we're going to travel along the peace wall to give you an idea of its scale. The peace walls were built by the British Army back in 1969, when the army had been called into Northern Ireland at the request of the Republican side of the community to protect them from the Loyalist side of the community. Not knowing what to do with the 2 communities who were trying to kill each other, the army decided just to keep them apart, and they started building temporary peace lines, mostly using corrugated iron walls. Soon they realised they would need stronger walls and started to build them from reinforced concrete.
peaceful, separates Catholics and Protestants. There's my footsteps now.
As you can see, the walls are very strong, but they weren't tall enough, as stones and missiles could be thrown over the wall. The British Army put a fence on top of the wall, but this was still not high enough, so they had to put a fence on top of the fence on top of the wall. However, the wall is still not high enough. If throwing stones was an Olympic event, Northern Ireland would be gold medal winners every time. Along the wall are various paintings and graffiti paintings painted by artists from all over the world. But if you look closely, you can see where tourists from around the world have written messages of peace on the wall and signed their names. There are a few dirty jokes written on the wall, so it's perhaps best not to look too closely. If you look left, when the bus turns to the right, you will see the Lanark Way gates, one of the biggest crossings of the peace line. These gates are usually open 24 hours a day. But if the police see any trouble, they can remotely shut the gates as they are electronically operated.
Oh, next one.
As we turn right onto the Shankill Road, we can see numerous murals on the gable walls of buildings, many of which portray local loyalist group ads. Others show memorials from the First and Second World Wars, as many people from this area would have joined the British Army and still do to this day. Other murals show memorials to the loyalist paramilitary groups set up during the Troubles, in opposition to the Republican paramilitary groups. On the left is the Core Credit Union building. This was the site of the Shankill bombing on the 23rd of October 1993. At the time, this building was a fish shop, and it was blown up by the IRA, killing 9 innocent shoppers on a Saturday afternoon. The bombing brought about a terrible time in Northern Ireland's history, as the loyalist paramilitaries mounted a campaign of terror against the Republican side of the community. Eventually, this culminated in the IRA calling a ceasefire 10 months later, in August of 1994, and this started what we now call the peace process. Near here, you will also see murals of the King and Queen, as well as murals commemorating various bombings and murders that took place on the Shankill Road. As we leave the Shankill Road, we are driving through a housing estate. The houses on both sides of the peace line are very similar, and this was a big factor surrounding the Troubles. One side of the community thought the other had better housing, but the reality was that both sides had poor housing. A government department called the Housing Executive was set up to address this, and it is still in existence today, building low-cost social housing for both sides of the community. courthouse. As we drive down the Cromlin Road, to the left is the Victorian Cromlin Road Jail, and on the right is the courthouse. Both buildings were designed by the Ulster architect and engineer Sir Charles Langley. The jail is now refurbished and is open for tours. The old jail also houses the McConnell's Whisky Distillery, which is also open for tours and tastings. The courthouse on the right has been through a few developers' hands, and it is thought it will become a hotel. The Mater Hospital on the left, or Mater, depending on which side of the community you're from, is one of the three major hospitals in Belfast, the others being the Royal Victoria and Belfast City Hospitals. As we approach the roundabout, we enter Carlisle's Circus. The large church on the right is the Carlisle Memorial Methodist Church. Part of the church is now an Indian community centre, and the rest is under redevelopment. Carlisle Circus is where the Belfast 12th of July Orange Order Parade starts from, as this is where the Orange Order District No. 1 Hall is situated, which can be seen on the right, with a large statue of King William III on the roof. As we continue through the traffic lights, on the left is the old Victorian workhouse. This was built on the site of the original St Patrick's Church, which was part funded by Protestant business families in 1815. The priest's house to the left can be identified by the large brass door. Also on the left are the newsrooms of one of Belfast's newspapers, the Irish News. And on the right is a statue of Lenin, which is over the entrance to Belfast's largest gate up, the Kremlin.
Escape games to play an escape game, but we didn't do too good.
We're now entering Royal Avenue and the main shopping areas of Belfast. On the right is Castle Court Shopping Mall, the first to open in Belfast in 1990. Even before it opened its doors, it had been blown up several times. It is situated on the site of the original Grand Hotel and the Avenue Cinema. The cinema has now reopened inside the shopping mall. This is Donegal Place, and as we continue along towards the City Hall, many more of Belfast shops can be seen on the left-hand side. In front of the shops, you can see the large curved lights with what look like sails on them, carrying the names of many famous ships built in the shipyard. The City Hall can be seen in all its glory from here, and often hosts continental markets and Christmas markets in its grounds. The City Hall is open to the public and tours can be taken. The grounds of the City Hall contain numerous statues and memorials, including the memorial to the Titanic victims, and also the guarantee team who went down trying to keep the ship afloat. As we drive to the rear of City Hall, we will shortly be stopping, so please remain seated until the bus stops and retrieve all your personal belongings before getting off the bus. Thank you for choosing Sightseeing Belfast, the local company. And if you want to join us on a day trip to the Giant's Causeway, all information is available on our website or from our ticket sellers. Please leave us a nice review, and if you want to thank our driver today, tips are accepted at the door.